Welcome back to WION World as One. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is Speed News. Lots lined up for you. Let's get started. US President Donald Trump has warned Houthi militants that real pain is yet to come. In a post on social media platform X, Trump said that relentless American strikes over the last 2 weeks had decimated Houthis. Trump added that the US will continue hitting the Iran-backed militia and their sponsors in Iran until they are no longer a threat to global shipping. Shortly after Trump's threat, Yemeni rebel media said US strikes hit the island of Cameron off the Hodeidah coast. US Central Command shared pictures of the launch of the latest strikes. Houthi media reported that at least 15 strikes have been conducted over the past day. US President Donald Trump has promised that he would be very kind to trading partners when he unveils further tariffs this week. Trump said that the details of the reciprocal tariffs could be revealed soon. Earlier, the Wall Street Journal reported that advisors have considered imposing global tariffs of up to 20% to hit almost all US trading partners. Trump, however, has remained vague, but claimed that his tariffs would be far more generous than the ones already levied against US products. Trump insists that the reciprocal action is needed because the world's biggest economy has been ripped off by every country in the world. Trump has also promised Liberation Day for the United States on the 2nd of April and has now dubbed the day of his planned tariffs as the rebirth of the United States. French far-right leader Marine Le Pen vows to fight ban on running for office after a French court barred the National Rally leader from standing for public office for 5 years. This after a French court found her guilty of embezzling public funds over a fake job scam at the European Parliament. In an interview to the French broadcaster TF1, Le Pen called herself a fighter and vowed to appeal against the court's decision. Le Pen called the verdict a political decision and a deliberate design to prevent her from running for presidency.
We're doing very well, Rodrigo.
US President Donald Trump compares French far-right leader Marine Le Pen's conviction to his legal battles. Speaking to US reporters in the Oval Office of the White House, Trump described the court ruling as a very big deal and compared the ban on her running for office as similar to his legal battles, in an apparent reference to the legal cases that Trump himself faced before he took office. Iran has warned that it would have no alternative but to acquire a nuclear weapon if attacked by the United States or its allies. Ali Larijani, an advisor to the country's supreme leader, made the comments on state TV, following a threat by US President Donald Trump. Larijani said Iran is not moving towards nuclear weapons, but if you do something wrong in the Iranian nuclear issue, you will force Iran to move towards that because it has to defend itself. On Saturday, Trump had told NBC News that there will be bombing if Iran did not agree to a nuclear deal. Earlier, the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, had also promised to hit back if the US president made good on his threat to bomb Iran if it did not agree to a deal to curb its nuclear program. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reversed its decision to appoint Eli Sharvit as the next head of the Shin Bet. Netanyahu is facing political pressure from allies to cancel Sharvit's nomination due to his apparent participation in massive protests that erupted in 2023 against the government's plans to overhaul the judiciary. According to the Israeli Prime Minister's office, Netanyahu met Sharvet last night to tell him that he would not be the next head of the Shin bet. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu became the first sitting leader in the country to take the stand as a criminal defendant after testifying in the Qatar Gate probe. Shortly after his testimony, Benjamin Netanyahu called the investigation a political witch hunt, adding police officials had no evidence against him. He also alleged his aides Jonathan Urich and Eli Feldstein were being held hostage by the police. They were arrested for questioning on Monday morning for allegedly receiving payments from the Qatari officials in order to promote the country's image. Netanyahu maintains that the investigation was opened in a bid to foil the firing of the head of Shin Bet, Ronan Bar, a decision that has sparked major uproar in the country. Donald Trump has said that he expects Russian President Vladimir Putin to fulfill his part of the deal to end the war in Ukraine after US President voiced doubts over Moscow's commitment. Speaking to reporters inside the Oval Office, Trump said he wants to make sure that Putin follows through and strikes a deal to end the war. The US President further added that he does not want to move forward with secondary tariffs that he previously threatened to impose on buyers of Russian oil if it can be avoided. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said that Ukraine has documented more than 183,000 Russian war crimes since Moscow's February 2022 invasion. Speaking at the Bucharest summit, the Ukrainian president urged participants to continue their support for Ukraine. China has sent its army, navy, air and rocket forces to surround Taiwan for drills that are aimed at practicing a blockade of the island. According to Taiwan's defense ministry, Beijing deployed its Shandong aircraft carrier group as part of 19 warships around the island, while China's Coast Guard said it conducted law enforcement patrols around Taiwan. The drill involves sea-air combat readiness patrols, assault on maritime and ground targets, and blockade on key areas and sea lanes. Beijing said the exercises intend to send a stern warning and forceful deterrence to separatists in Taiwan. China's Taiwan Affairs Office warned that efforts towards independence for Taiwan meant pushing the people into a dangerous situation of war. At least 16 Tesla cars were destroyed in a fire at a dealership on the outskirts of Rome. While the cause of the fire is not known yet, authorities are probing the angle of arson. Just hours after the fire, an instance of vandalism targeting a Tesla dealership was reported from Berlin. Protesters spray-painted Tesla cars in the German capital. Tesla CEO Elon Musk has claimed that the fire at the Tesla dealership in Rome was an act of terrorism. Ever since Tesla CEO Elon Musk took up a key role in the Trump administration, there have been multiple incidents of vandalism and fires targeting Tesla cars. Protests are also continuing outside Tesla dealerships across the United States and Canada. Russia is considering suspending a ban on the Taliban. The Russian Supreme Court has received a petition for the same from the Prosecutor General's office. The Supreme Court is due to consider the move behind closed doors on the 17th of April. Russia has warmed relations with the Taliban since the US's withdrawal in 2021. In July last year, Russian President Vladimir Putin had said that the Taliban was an ally in the fight against terrorism. The move follows a law signed by President Putin in December 2024 that permits temporary suspension of bans. However, the lifting of the ban would not amount to formal recognition of the Taliban government. No country has recognized the Taliban since it seized power in August 2021. The United States has dispatched its disaster relief team to Myanmar to assist in relief efforts after a powerful earthquake of 7.7 magnitude jolted the country on the 28th of March. The team will identify the people's most pressing needs, including emergency shelter, food, medical needs, and access to water. Trump administration has also pledged $2 million in financial assistance. Meanwhile, aid groups and the United Nations have warned that the earthquake could exacerbate hunger and disease in Myanmar with an ongoing civil war and poor infrastructure. Myanmar was already one of the most challenging places in the world for aid organizations to operate. Relief efforts have been hampered by severe damage to roads and hospitals, power outages, fuel shortages, and spotty communication. Thai authorities have begun investigations into what led to the collapse of a construction site in Bangkok during Friday's earthquake, where at least 12 people have died and dozens still remain missing. The planned skyscraper was to house government offices, but it has now been reduced to a pile of rubble. Numerous high-rise buildings elsewhere in Bangkok were left unscathed, with limited reports of major damage, which has further prompted questions as to why this particular tower was destroyed. Thai Prime Minister Shin questioned why the collapsed building was the only one in the capital to suffer. Shinawatra has ordered a probe into the incident. Rescuers are continuing the search and rescue efforts at the site. Around 75 people are still feared trapped under the rubble of the unfinished tower. And fresh gunfight broke out between security forces and terrorists in the Kathua district of India's Jammu and Kashmir. The operation is currently underway and at least 4 terrorists are reported to be trapped in the gunfight. According to reports, a police team had come under fire from terrorists during a combing operation on Monday night. Aerial surveillance and sniffer dogs have been deployed in a bid to intensify search operations. This is the third such encounter in the past 8 days. On the 23rd of March, an encounter had broken out near the international border, but the terrorists had managed to escape. On the 27th of March, another encounter was reported in Kathua, where 3 terrorists were gunned down, while 3 security personnel lost their lives. India's weather department has warned that the April to June period would be hotter than usual and more heatwave days are likely in many states, including Delhi, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. The IMD has issued a stark warning about the upcoming summer season, predicting an unprecedented rise in heatwave days across several regions of India from April to June. Eastern states such as Odisha, West Bengal, Bihar and Jharkhand are expected to endure 6 heatwave days, while Delhi and parts of northwest India may face 2 or 3 such days during the same period. In total, eastern India is likely to experience 10 to 12 heatwave days over the 3 months. Gold prices hit a record peak in early trade today as concerns that US President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs might fuel inflationary pressures and impede economic growth drove safe haven demand. Spot gold hit an all-time high of $3,145 earlier in the session. In the previous session, bullion recorded its strongest quarter since 1986, marking one of the most significant upswings in the precious metal history. Trump, who sees tariffs as a way of protecting the domestic economy from unfair global competition, has promised to unveil a massive tariff plan, which he has dubbed Liberation Day. Nearly 100 years ago, the US enacted a tariff law that set off a global trade war and prolonged and deepened the Great Depression. Now President Donald Trump is betting the world has changed enough that history won't repeat itself. He is set to impose so-called reciprocal tariffs on what he has labeled Liberation Day. These tariffs are expected to cover a broader swathe of trade than the infamous 1930 Smoot-Hawley duties that have long served as a cautionary tale about protectionism. SoftBank Group is looking for a loan of up to $16.5 billion to finance AI initiatives in the United States. This would be the biggest dollar-denominated facility for the tech investor. In addition to its ambitious robotics and semiconductor initiatives, SoftBank is looking to put at potential funding sources to launch a $500 billion AI infrastructure project in the United States. Despite its collaboration with OpenAI, Oracle, and Abu Dhabi's MGX on Stargate AI project, SoftBank continues to be the primary backer of data center expansion that the Chinese firm had promised US President Donald Trump. With new home sales resuming their fall and China Vanke reporting a record loss, the world's second-largest economy continues to grapple with a recession in its property market. March new home sales in China dropped 11%. The state-backed Vanke saw its first annual loss since 1991 debut. The firm reported a record loss of 49.5 billion yuan or $6.8 billion in 2024. Weak domestic demand and a fragile job market continue to weigh on the country's property sector, now in its fourth year of decline.